You are listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report, episode number 222.3, our Final Four preview with Grant Shouse.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengels.
Grant, this has probably been the worst NCAA tournament of my lifetime, the least dramatic, the least interesting tournament of my lifetime. But the last time there was a tournament like this was 2009, and it was very chalk, and it created one of the greatest Final Fours of all time. So hopefully that's where we are at this point, hoping for a great Final Four.
I hate to be this way because I hate when people do this to me. I'm going to correct you here. It's in 2008.
Okay, my bad.
2008, all one seeds in the Final Four. It was the only and the last time that's happened. And then this year, it's changed. Obviously, with Florida, Houston, Duke, Auburn. I'll tell you what, it is a non-basketball knowers' dream bracket because the people that filled out their bracket, they're like, oh, well, they're the number one team. They're probably good. Yeah, they're good. They'll go to the Final Four. And it was funny. I retweeted it, and I know you saw it because you liked it. It was a picture of a –
Yes, I shared it with people.
You saw that? Yeah.
I texted it to people.
It was a picture of Paul Skeens and his girlfriend, Livy Dunn, and she's all happy, and he's sitting there all, depressed. Look at it. Says, my girlfriend that picked all one seeds to the Final Four. I thought that was hilarious. But then again, we've been saying it all tournament, and it really just hasn't worked out like that. Now, you got to agree with me. There were some great games this past weekend.
There were some for sure.
They were great.
Not. I wouldn't say great. I would say good.
The Purdue-Houston game was
good game.
Was a
not
good
a great game.
It was a good game.
Right.
We could go on and on
certainly
about
the
that.
Florida
Texas
Tech game was a very good game.
Texas Tech Arkansas. Texas Tech Arkansas was a great game too. And
there've been some for sure.
Yeah, and that just happens every once in a while. And that can't be how this tournament's going to be remembered, because I really hope it's not, because I think the Final Four is going to be really good.
I hope this isn't the future of the tournament, because things have changed the last couple of years dramatically in college basketball. Mm-hmm. And this would kind of tell you that maybe we're headed for a world in which the small schools can't compete. They've always been able to compete because when you have five guys together for 4 years, you can have a great basketball team no matter what kind of recruit you are. Just because you had a bunch of guys who were two-star recruits, if you get them together and you build it for 4 years, like a lot of these small programs did, then you can have a great team. Doesn't matter. But now the best players from those teams are being pilfered by the big programs. And it looks like Cinderella may be dead.
Obviously, Cinderella's dead in this tournament.
Yes.
Not so sure.
Last weekend, Texas Tech, the 3 seed was the Cinderella.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think. I don't think Cinderella's dead for the long run. I think she'll be back. I hope she'll be back. That's the thing. Make you think about that. I'm going to tie this back to the whole college football playoff thing here. People talk about, SMU, Indiana, Clemson. They didn't belong in the play. They weren't that good. They didn't belong in, but yet they were kind of the Cinderellas of last year's football season. Nobody wanted to see them in. They didn't want to see. They wanted their big programs in it. So why is it that we want to see the big programs in football succeed, but we want Cinderellas for college basketball?
I think you got to have Cinderellas for both. I've been saying with the football playoff, and I've been talking about, I literally in elementary school sketched out a potential college football playoff and how cool that would be in 1983 or whatever. Because I kept thinking, we never know who the best college football team is.
Never really know.
Never really knew. With that said, I've been saying with a playoff, you have to have Cinderellas. You have to have the MAC in there or somebody like that. The SMU, I know they're not from a small conference, but
the Indianas.
Yes, exactly.
Who have never been good.
but you've got to include the Mountain West or something
Yes.
like that in order to make it legit. Otherwise, you've got half of the country playing for nothing every year.
Exactly, and you got to have them in college basketball as much as you can't control it. I mean,
nope, nothing you can do. It is what it is.
It is what it is, and we've had chalk tournaments before, and it's just how it's been. It's not a big deal. To me, it's not a big deal
unless
this is permanent.
Unless it's permanent,
this is a big deal.
Yeah,
you can live 1 year with it being like this.
Well, the great thing about the tournament is those number 1 seeds are expected to win. That's why they're number 1 seeds.
Yep.
And they don't most of the time, which is what makes it great. So when they do every once in a while, it makes it even better down the road when they get knocked off. Next year, when a number 1 seed loses to an 8 seed, it'll be a big deal if it's not permanent.
Exactly. And I don't think it will be. That's so far away from now to even think about. But the Final Four this weekend is going to be great. It's always the best event, in my opinion. It's always funny to me that the first game is at 6:09 p.m. Why specifically 6:09? I don't know.
I think it has something to do with the NBA.
It's something to do with TV.
The NBA always has their games at 7 o'clock and they tip at 7:09. I don't know what it is. It's 9 minutes between the announcing the players and the tip of the game. I don't know what it is.
And your national anthem and all that.
And they're putting the tip at exactly like we start the national anthem or whatever at 6. The game, the tip is 6:09. It has something to do with that.
Yeah.
But that is funny.
I get it. And
4 great teams.
4 great teams. And
you have any idea what's going to happen?
I don't, because it's to the point now where it's officially, I think it's unpredictable. I think this past weekend was a little bit predictable. I knew all the 1 seeds would get out of this past weekend. I had a feeling. You talk about in terms of exciting players you're looking forward to watching. Every team's got one guy that's just really good. Sharp for Houston. Can't think of his first name for some reason. LJ Cryer for Houston.
I was going to say Cryer.
Yeah, and then, of course, Duke's got Cooper Flagg, Con Knipple. They got that big guy. I can't think of his name, but I can see him right now. Florida's got Walter Clayton, who's put that team. They've been good all year, but he's really been their main catalyst.
He's gone to another level.
He has, and he's going to be a great NBA player. And then you have Janai Broom for Auburn, who went down with an injury yesterday, came back, got in the game. They're going to have him healthy. I hope it's as crazy as this sounds. I hope it's Houston and Auburn in the national championship, 2 programs that have never been there before. They've been there. Auburn's been in the Final Four, and Houston's been the 2 national championships. But you would have first.
It's been a long time.
Yeah,
since
you'd have a first ever national champion.
Yes, either way.
And
take that, Akeem Olajuwon.
Yeah, like Houston was so close in 1983, Phi Slamma Jamma.
And 84.
And Lorenzo Charles for NC State had that dunk at the buzzer. And Houston is they're due. I think they're due. But, man, Duke's going to be hard to beat.
Akeem Olajuwon, Ralph Sampson, the 2 greatest college basketball players, I think, without a national championship. That would be, absolutely. I would throw that out there. But they were so good, and I'm talking about so good in college.
What about Zach Edey?
I wouldn't put him at their level.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, I like you.
Yeah, no, I'm fair. Akeem Olajuwon came to college and was immediately the best player on earth. Unbelievable how good he was. Just took the game to a whole different level. A 7-footer who could do everything.
Yeah.
If you were talking to someone who doesn't watch college basketball, but they're going to watch the Final Four this weekend, what would be the most interesting thing to you to watch, or who?
If someone doesn't watch college basketball, then this person most definitely watches the NBA and pays attention to the NBA. What I would tell them is watch Cooper Flagg. Watch Cooper Flagg, because the NBA is going to do everything they can when he gets to the league next year to make him one of the faces of the league. They're going to do everything they can. Him and Victor Wembanyama for the Spurs are going to do everything they can to make something out of this kid. Watch this kid and say that you've watched him in college. This is a kid that if he's not if they don't win the national championship, and I think they can, and they probably will. If he doesn't win a national championship, he's going to be remembered in college as kind of like Larry Bird, a great player who went on to have a great NBA career. He was 6'9", 6'10". He could do everything just like Larry Bird, but he came up short and couldn't win a national championship. Watch for that. I would also say look at how different the style between the NBA and college is. And also pay attention to the fact that there's so much on the line in this tournament in college basketball because it's single elimination. In the NBA, you play a playoff game. We don't call it a playoff game. It's a tournament game, but it's essentially a playoff game. In the NBA, you lose one of your playoff games. It's not an elimination game. You're still fine. Pay attention to the fact that this means everything to college basketball fans. It means everything to college sports fans because I think college sports is, and I think you'll agree with me, college sports is much more fun to watch than professional sports. It's the biggest event in college sports. I mean, yeah, you have your college football playoff and all this other stuff, but the Final Four is the Final Four, and people watch the Final Four. They watch those first 2 days of the NCAA tournament, and when the Final Four comes around, they watch the Final Four. So that's what I would say to pay attention to and kind of savor that a little bit, savor that moment, because especially this year with you having the top four best teams in the country in the Final Four, pretty much, and any of them could win a national championship.
Which team has the coaching advantage of the four coaches?
That's actually a great question, and I could see you plotting over a good question. I could see you plotting a good question over there. Honestly, I think it's Houston. I think Houston has the advantage.
Man, what a call on the inbound play in the final seconds against Purdue.
That's nothing but coaching.
That's right.
And
they noticed that Braden Smith tends to cheat on those plays, and they caught him backdoor. Nothing against Braden Smith. He's made a lot of great plays doing that.
Yeah.
But they just caught him doing it. And, in fact, earlier they tried the same play, and Miles Colvin intercepted the pass, and Coach Sampson adjusted from it. And what a great coaching call that was. It
was. And, he couldn't have been more wide open.
No.
It was a wide open
Under the basket. Yeah.
It was a great play. That was Kelvin Sampson. And I can't stand these people that, I'll never root for him because he's a cheater. He's a cheater. He did this. He did that. I don't care.
I agree. I'm going to cheer against him because of that stuff.
You are?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean I can't appreciate how good of a coach he is.
Exactly. I mean, he is. Yeah, he's a little bit of a greaseball.
Yeah.
He's a greasy guy, but the man can, when it comes down to it, he's making those phone calls to guys because he knows they can play the game. Or texting them, and they can fit into his system. And that's why Houston does it. And Jim Nance said this yesterday when they won the Elite Eight. He was there, and they brought him out on the floor, and I saw him in an interview say, Houston does this every year with guys you've never even heard of. Like,
that's true.
A guy to throw out for them is a guy named Milos Uzan.
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah.
Exactly. Who is that? I mean, they do it. Kelvin Sampson does more with less. I think they got the coach. I think they have the coaching advantage because of that. I think Auburn, they have the coaching advantage over Florida because their coach has more experience. He's coached in a Final Four. Duke has a little bit of an advantage because you have a guy that coached with Mike Krzyzewski, and he's a young coach who's never been on that stage before as a head coach. Been there as an assistant, obviously, but never as a head coach. And Todd Golden, who's a real young coach for Florida, who has not been that experienced as well. But when it comes down to the Final Four, I'm not so sure it's much about coaching as it can be about adjustments in the chess match, but it's more about can your guys and your best players go out and make plays when we need to have a play made. But to answer your question in full, I'm going to go with Kelvin Sampson. I think he's the best remaining coach in the Final Four.
And last question, who's going to win it, and who are going to win the 3 games?
First game, Auburn and Florida. Let me ask you, who's going to win?
My original pick was Houston over Florida to win it all, and
Okay.
I'm going to stick with it.
Okay. I'm going to actually go. Like I said, I'd like to see Houston and Auburn, but I'm gonna take Duke to beat Auburn on Monday night.
Oh, so we're going exact opposites.
Yeah.
That tells you how good of a tournament this is.
Exactly. I'm gonna go, and the likelihood of that happening is really good. I mean, you get in the Final Four with some of these teams like last year. We knew it was going to be UConn and Purdue, the national champions.
Sure seemed like it.
Those were the number 1 and 2 best teams in the country.
We were really, really hoping though that it would be Purdue and
Alabama.
Yeah,
You were
really. Oh
you
yes,
were,
yeah. The only team
I was coaching UConn in my living room in that game.
The only game, the only team I knew could beat Purdue was
absolutely,
UConn.
absolutely. But this year I think is the matchup. Whatever, think about the possible outcomes there are for the matchups. They're all highly probable. Like last year, it was almost impossible, laughable that it could be Alabama and NC State in a national championship, or NC State and UConn. It just wasn't going to happen. But this one, I think any of those combinations are possible. So we'll see. But I like Duke to beat Auburn and win their 6th ever national championship.
I can see it, but War Eagle, of course, my uncle is, as Charles Barkley said, the greatest player in Auburn history.
Really?
So, yeah. So, the all-time leading scorer in Auburn history. And so I'm going to say War Eagle.
To this day?
Yeah, to this
really?
day.
Wow.
But I'm going to guess that it's going to be, from what I've seen, Houston and Florida are the best total teams, and I think they're the teams to beat.
I don't have a team that I think I'm rooting against in this one. I think every year there's been a team I think I've rooted against.
I definitely don't want Duke to win another one.
I know I'm picking them to win, but I don't want them to win. But my opinion is because I think they're the best team. I think they have the best amount of guys.
They definitely have the best player.
Yeah, exactly. And so we'll see. But it's going to be a good weekend. I'm looking forward to Saturday night. CBS 609 Florida.
609
Florida and Auburn and an all as I want to throw this out there too, real quick, is that Auburn has played every team in the Final Four this year.
Whoa.
They played them in the
regular
season.
Did that ever happen before? I can't imagine that's ever.
I think it's happened one time.
One time the Final Four was 3 Big East teams, but I doubt any of them had played Memphis, so probably not that one. So
yeah, I can't remember when it was, but
very
Auburn has played every team in the regular season at least once. So because I think they played Florida twice. So there's your nugget.
War Eagle. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this segment and would like to see the Central Indiana Sports Report continue to grow and thrive, please share this segment with your friends and family. We thank you in advance. Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media and Isla Susie.